What's going on, boys and guys here? Welcome back to another video. In today's video we're going to go over the game that Anders lost. Now we're not going to go over the loss per se. I'm going to explain to you why I think he lost, but I'm going to go with things that you can learn from Anders because he's still a top tier player. We've got the controller on the screen so you can see what buttons he's pressing. I'm going to talk about some few things that you can implement into your game. Sit back, is going to be a long video, but it's going to be one that's very much worth watching. I just want to say first things first in terms of Anders. This guy is a top tier player. He gets a lot of hate, but honestly I tip my hat off to you. He keeps it very classy, he doesn't respond to the hate, and he's a top tier guy. Although he lost this game, 535 games unbeaten, no one is ever going to match that. So for sure Anders is going to be going on to do some great stuff, I'm pretty sure about that, and that one loss is just going to make him even more stronger. So going into the gameplay now, of course, if you want to see social medias, I'll leave his links down below as well. The reason why he lost is three things in my opinion. I watch Anders' gameplay a lot. One, he wasn't playing, in my opinion, to his fullest potential. I'll explain that again later on. Two, his team let him down, which you're going to be surprised, but I'll explain that as well. And three, he just made some mistakes, and I think his opponent played very well by getting the first goal against him. The first thing was he wasn't playing serious. He made a lot of mistakes that he doesn't normally do. And I don't know why he did them. Maybe he was frustrated. But also he was looking at the chat. When you're playing seriously, I know Anders is a top tier guy, but the guy he was playing was actually a good player as well. This guy wasn't some average Joe, some average gold 3 player. I think he got a couple of top 100 finishes as well. The second thing is his team. Now, his team, he plays Neymar on striker, Mbappe striker, George Best as a right winger, and R9 as a left winger. Mbappe cannot play striker. Everyone will tell you Mbappe can play striker. I don't care about anyone else's opinion is. In my opinion, this guy cannot play striker. His left foot is awful. If you're up against a goal 3 play, it's fine. But if you're playing another elite player, they're going to push Mbappe on his right foot every single time. On his left foot every single time. Mbappe's left foot is not good enough. The shot power is not good enough with Mbappe's left foot. If that was Ronaldo, it would be a different thing. Mbappe is a top 3 card, top 3 wingers in the game, in my opinion. In striker, Mbappe is, in my opinion, useless. I know people are going to be so surprised that I said this, and a lot of pro players are going to say the opposite, but Mbappe cannot play striker. He missed open goals for me, and that's one thing that cost him this game. Also, his team is not the best. He normally has normal R9, I think, if I'm not mistaken. You know, you're going to say to me, hang on, what this team is worth a couple of million, maybe 10 million. My team is only worth this much or whatever. That's true, but think about the kind of player he is. If you're playing Warzone, imagine for example he's only using, let's say, he's not using a fully maxed out weapon, he's kind of using just a picked up normal gun, if that makes sense. If you're playing, for example, I don't even know, like CSGO, imagine for example where you can have the AK or the M4, he's basically using maybe a Galil. So it's important to note these things because it's very important to bear in mind he's not using a fully strength team. If he was, the game would have been very much different. So I'm not saying that I'm backing him in terms of the reason why I lost is because of his team, but compared to what he normally plays, his team wasn't as strong. As you can see, he's got some good players on the bench. He's even got Eto'o on the bench and a few other players as well. He could have played Eto'o instead of Mbappe, and there's so many other things as well. We don't know what his exact reasoning is, but it's just something to bear in mind. So going over to the footage now, I'm going to analyze. I'm not going to, well, I suppose you can say we're going to watch it live together. So I'm not going to keep stopping and starting unless I see that's something that you can really learn from. And we're going to put the controllers on, and we're going to change this camera angle because I don't want you to see this. We're going to change to the co-op camera angle. That way you can get kind of like a holistic view of the entire pitch, should I say. So we're going to change this over there to the co-op camera angle. I'm going to put the controller. So he is the controller in blue. So Anders is, of course, the team in white and red, shooting from left to right. And he's this control over there. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is when you're trying to watch these top tier players, there's things that you can learn from them. But there's also things that if you try to copy, it won't work. And I'll explain to you. One thing is, for example, defending. Now, a lot of these pro guys, they run out and they defend with their centre backs very aggressively. You should not be doing that because if you make a mistake, you're in big trouble. You can see he does that with Boateng over here. Now, that's something I want to mention because everyone always says to me, Neil, you always say don't bring your top 4 or your back 4 out of position. But when I watch Tex or when I watch Anders, they run out with a centre back. Now, even myself, I run out with my centre back as well. But this is the thing. These top tier guys, they know how to recover. So if he didn't get the ball with Boateng, he knows to switch to Rooney to cut that passing lane, then use teammate contain with this guy. He knows how to recover. A lot of players below gold 1 do not know how to recover if you bring your back forward position. So yes, a lot of players, they watch their these pro guys and they say, oh, he runs out with a centre back, let me copy him. Don't, because these guys know what they're doing. It's a difference. That's something just to bear in mind. So whenever you see, for example, someone running out with their back 4, it's because after they've run out with their back 4, they know what they're doing. It's very calculated. They're not running out for no reason. They only run out when there's a good chance of them getting the ball. So the game starts a bit slow, just how it typically normally does. I think his opponent was 16-2. At this time, I think Anders was something on the lines of 26-4. Of course, he was unbeaten. Now this is his 536th game, I'm presuming. Nice 1-2. See how he does it, for example, force the ball forward. You see how he just waits, and then when he gets a chance to go forward, unfortunately he gets the Lakuketa done against him. Doesn't really work. Opponent gets the ball. Now this is the key. Watch how his opponent builds up. You see that? That is what's very, very important. That segment over there. Now you probably can't really see what happened over here, but what he did was something very, very important. His opponent did. It's the L1 trigger. Now focus on the control on the right hand side. You see at this point over there, he did an L1 trigger. This sends this player to make a run going forward. This is something you have to bear in mind. I use the L1 trigger in 90 minutes, maybe about 100 times, maybe even plus. I would say on average more than 1 a minute. I always press the L1 button or LB if you're on Xbox to trigger this player to make a run going forward. If someone is standing still and you want them to make a run, press the L1 button like this player did, and as you can see, that player sticks his hand out, and then it creates a situation where at this point Anders got to make a decision. Does he go towards him? Then this guy's in behind, or does he run back and then this guy's got a chance to run into space? Either way, he's forcing Anders into a situation where he has to choose one or the other. If you just do a regular pass here, then Anders can just sit back, or anyone can just sit back and kind of wait for it. That's why that 1-2 is very, very important. But a lot of players on the lower tier, they just don't do it. You have to make sure when you're doing your when you're using your cams or your center mids, when you're running out, make sure you're doing your 1-2s. L1 triggers and 1-2s are probably the most important thing to create space. Whenever you're on the final third, always do 1-2s, but not with your CDMs. As you can see, his opponent has a 1-2, an L1 trigger over here with his center mid. If you do that, be careful, because if you lose the ball, then you're going to have a massive pocket of space open in behind. So I would say if you're playing, for example, a 4-2-3-1, with these guys, you can do 1-2s as much as you want. So it's kind of like sometimes, maybe, and never. So never do a 1-2 with your back 4. You can sometimes do it with your CMs, maybe to bring the ball forward, and always do it with your 1-2s in between your front 4 strikers. But never do a 1-2 with your CM or centre back. As you can see, Centerman's out of position. As you can see, now he's lost the ball. Now he's only got one centre mid, and as you can see, Bruno Fernandes, that should have been there, is no longer there. So that is one thing to bear in mind. So if you do that 1-2, there's a big chance going to get it behind. As you can see, Anders also using the L1 triggers. As you can see, he's pushing players forward again, recycling the ball. He's getting pressed pretty high up the pitch. Pass gets made, unfortunately dispossessed. Pele gets the ball, the exact same thing. What does his opponent do? Another L1 trigger. You see that? That player makes a run in behind. He uses Vieira. He goes. This is another thing I wanted to say as well. When your opponent takes a touch away, a lot of players, they end up pushing towards them. No, never chase a guy on the outside. Always stay the angle towards goal. So your opponent's over here, you always stay on this side. Never, ever, ever try to get the ball from this side. Always block this angle out, because if you try to run over here, a lot of people here try to run and get the ball. He'll just turn you, smack the ball past you, and then you're screwed. So what Anders does here instead is he goes forward, then he switches to the ram, and that way the Vieira doesn't go out of position. Something that's very, very good. Again, obviously, as you can see here, he's cutting the passing lanes with his CDM. So watch, see that passing lane? He goes and he cuts it, intercepts it very, very well. You see that stopping the ball from going to Neymar. Here, there's a chance for Neymar over there. Again, he realized the situation, Neymar and Pele. He cuts the passing lane with his centre back, realized that's a centre back. He then runs back. Here, there's a chance for the ball to go to Neymar. So he can either switch to Rooney or Bruno Fernandes. He runs with Bruno Fernandes and he goes and cuts the passing lane. Do you see how he's always cutting the passing lane to the dangerous areas? Like, see Pele here? See, so what he's doing is, instead of just pressing and running aimlessly at Renato Sanchez, he's cutting the passing lane first and then running towards the player. So you're basically stopping the pass and then running alongside the passing lane. So like here, Bruno Fernandes, he wants to press. He shouldn't press like this. You should cut the passing lane first and then press towards him. And that way you kill two birds with one stone. So if you want to press your opponent, cut the passing lane to the striker first, and then while cutting the passing lane, be aggressive. So that way you're killing two birds with one stone. So you're kind of defending the pass into the striker, but also you're applying pressure as well. And as you can see over here, Boateng, see how he runs back? So he was a bit of aggressive at the beginning, and then he runs back again. He doesn't normally use Boateng in a situation, but as you can see, like here, watch over here. He realizes Pele's making a run in behind. He knows Mbappe's facing away from goal. He doesn't chase him. There's no need to. So he keeps his back four in shape, kind of sits back, and that way he stops the pass through ball going to Pele and lets Neymar come back at him. So that's something also to bear in mind as well. Again, the 1-2s get utilised. And I think the key with breaking through, unfortunately lose the ball here, gets dispossessed. Opponent does very, very well here. And this is when I think Anders really realised this guy was a good guy. In my opinion, the opponent should have done a first time fake shot there. A lot of top tier guys don't utilise that first time fake shot very well. But that would be perfect to create that near post angle towards the goalkeeper. Here, in my opinion, Anders should have done a 1-2 back to the right back as opposed to the right attacking mid. I think that passes for George best. But normally when this, when the first aspects of the game, your opponents are trying to break through. And this is the thing, the easiest way to break through someone. And if you're part of my Patreon series, by the way, patreon.com/nilguys. Link is down below in the description if you want to get better at FIFA. Of course, full money back guarantee if you don't get better after 1 month. What's the easiest thing I've always taught you guys? Always do a 1-2 with your lamb back to your left back. Same thing with your left mid back to your right back. Always do a 1-2 backwards, as I mentioned in the beginning, because then as you can see, Anders was aggressive here with both his ram and his right back, and as you can see now the left wing is completely open on the wing. And I think at this point Anders really realized that this guy was actually a pretty decent player. A lot of the time I see a lot of players, their main way of getting through is just trying to get the ball down into the wing and trying to get the ball outside the box. They always try to go down the wing first and then try to bring the ball inside the box, and then from there they try to get inside using a skill move. So I think at this point, when Anders was streaming, I watched his stream as well. Anders took off his controller, his headset, should I say. So I suppose you could say you probably knew that it was a bit of a difficult game. This guy was no walk in the park. There's a really nice through ball in the middle. Nice with Mbappe, does a fake shot inwards, doesn't panic, waits, controls the ball, waits, can he see someone through, ends up passing the ball to Rooney, which I don't know if he actually meant that or not, and unfortunately gets dispossessed. The opponent played very, very well. Again, what does he do again? L1 trigger, does a through ball, unfortunately doesn't work out, he gets the ball back again in the middle of the Dharma. Now this is the thing, in this is the areas that I like to work in these situations. Gets the ball, and this is the problem with Mbappe. As you can see, Mbappe, he's right-footed, so he tries to do a shimmy and tries to embait Mbappe, and the opponent defends amazingly. This is one thing I want to say when defending. When you're defending, always cut the angle out towards goal. Watch how his opponent defends with Varane. He doesn't go and runs to get the ball. He doesn't be aggressive. He kind of uses the run and jockey, and he keeps his ground. Do you see that? He's almost blocking the angle towards goal, because if you commit a tackle here and you miss the ball, it's completely done. So he's basically occupying the space, defending the angle towards goal, and then when he makes the movement into the space, then he be aggressive. And then when there's a guaranteed chance to win, it's even over here, when there's a guaranteed chance to win the ball, he still doesn't make a tackle, because if you make a tackle here, you could give away a penalty or you could turn the ball around. So he waits. See, he doesn't even tackle there. He just kind of sets off, doesn't chase him, blocks the angle towards goal again, and then he gets the ball after by walking into him. Do you see that? So look, he does, watch this. He doesn't watch the opponent in red. Yeah, run and jockey. He doesn't press tackle button. This is why I say you don't need to tackle with the run and jockey. You can literally just walk into your opponent and get the ball back. This is why I say you need to use a tackle button. But some people just keep overusing a tackle button inside the box. Outside the box, you can take a risk with a tackle button, but inside the box, you shouldn't even use it, because most of the time you'll give away a penalty, and you can get the ball just running, jockeying into your opponent. There's one thing that I would recommend. One thing that I would say learning a lot is make sure you always defend the angle towards goal. It's going to be hard in the beginning, and as you can see, this is the goal that was conceded. In my opinion, Anders did a big mistake here, and you can see this over here. I agree he got a bit BS'd. In my opinion, he should have used his CDM over here. I'd recommend you doing that, using your CDM here to go and press Neymar. He does that with Vieira, but he knows that if he messes up, he can always recover. But it's the thing, the game screwed him over. Even at this situation of, as you can see, the ball went through his feet. Now this is what people like to call scripting. This is what I like to call the game being broken. That's why you cannot take a risk by bringing your back foot out of position. See how the ball just went through his feet? It's nonsense. It should never happen, but it did. And what this created was this very acute situation where there was no other centre back. Now this is something that's going to be a bit difficult for you to understand in terms of like how it actually works in game, because you have to experience this the more you play it. So I'll explain to you what I mean. So when you move your centre back out of position, normally what happens is your back four, they keep their shape. When your centre back moves out of position, like so over here, centre back's out of position, your back four makes a makeshift back three. So the left centre back, he's no longer left centre back, he stays in the centre. Because he did that and he lost the ball over there, now while Vieira's running back in position, he's only got one centre back. So there's massive gaps in between the opponent's left back and left centre back and right centre back. And because there's only one guy there, there's loads of gaps in between, and that's why this situation happened. Normally Boateng will be positioned a bit higher because Vieira will be over there, but because Boateng is by himself, he has to be in the middle, and therefore it's easy for him to get the ball. It was a good goal. I mean, I'm not going to say the ball should have gone in. It was Pele. That's the benefit of having some of these top tier cards in the game. But it was, actually, to be honest, like it shouldn't have gone in my opinion. But this is what I'm trying to say. Don't bring your back four out. Now, I know you're probably thinking, why am I trying to tell Anders what's wrong and what's right? I'm not. I'm trying to skew it for you to learn. It's about taking unnecessary risks. For Anders, he knows how to recover that situation. And even that situation where he made that mistake, which he doesn't normally do. If he makes that mistake, normally he's good enough to right stick switch to the centre back and recover that, because I've seen he does that very, very well. But again, it's 1-0. He doesn't go all out attack. He doesn't need to go gung-ho. He's still inside the game. Rooney gets the ball in this situation. Again, doesn't force the ball, waits for the opportunity, tries to get the ball, and unfortunately the ball gets dispossessed. Again, over here, gets the ball again. Again, recycling the ball outside the box. Should have made the pass to Neymar, and the ball gets astray. And this is where I think Anders made the bit of the psychological thing, is because he's looking at the chat. And this is what I mean. Anders wasn't playing, well, I don't think he was playing 1000% serious until he was actually, I don't know, I would say after half time. The reason why is when you're playing on stream, you cannot play at your fullest potential. If you're streaming and looking at the chat, there is no way you can play at a high level. There is no way. I don't care. I think I'm very good at playing off stream. I mean, on stream, should I say, looking at the chat a lot of the time. But there's no way you can glance down at the chat and play this game at a high level. Unfortunately, Dragback is nerfed, so that didn't really work out. But playing off stream is different from playing on stream. A lot of that psychological factors does kick in. You know, look at the chat. Everyone's saying, oh yeah, it's a tough game. Imagine all the haters in the chat as well saying things to him as well. So this is something, of course, to bear in mind. That's what I would always say. If you are going to play serious, you want to get better at the game, try to remove the distractions. I know when I'm playing on stream, I'm not even playing at, I'll be honest, 60% of my level, because I just know I'm not playing full attention. So you have to make sure that you got no distractions. And as you can see, we go into half time. At this point, I think Anders has 0 shots on target. It doesn't mean anything. Everyone goes to me, oh look, someone sent me a picture saying, look, Anders has 38% possession, 0 shots on target. It means absolutely nothing, because all he needs is 1 shot on goal. For example, myself, right? I will go into a Foot Champions game. I'll only have maybe 2 shots on goal, but I'll have 2 goals. Now, your opponent can have 50 shots on goal, but if he shoots from the halfway line from a stupid angle every single time, is he going to score? Probably not. Whereas for me, I only shoot when it's a guaranteed chance. If I get inside the box and I can't score, I just don't shoot. And that's what Anders does. He does the exact same thing. If he's inside the box and he knows there's not a goal, he doesn't shoot. He just recycles the ball. And this is when the opponent starts playing, I think, a very, very smart game. The best way to avoid team press is to do a 1-2, force this guy to get it behind, do a driven through ball. If you can't make the pass, you switch the ball. This is kind of evading team press 101. You basically try to get the ball into the winger, try to do a 1-2 or try to pass the ball away, get the ball down the wing and then try to attack. That's the way. If you can't break through, then you go back to your left back and you switch the ball. This is basically 101 of how to hold the ball, how to defend very, very well. So hold possession very well. He gets the ball over here with Mbappe. Nice play with Neymar. And again, tries to make the pass to Mbappe. Gets a bit unlucky. Gets the ball in the middle over there. Uses CDM. Uses left back there. Applies a bit of pressure. Opponent makes a good through ball down the wing with the L1 trigger, as I mentioned before. Gets the ball outside the box. And this is what I'm trying to say. It's all about time. Now, this is where I think if you're going to beat Anders, this is I think the best way of doing it. If you're 1-0 ahead of Anders, just get him frustrated. Now, this is for every single player. When you're 1-0 down, as you can see, Anders making use of the 1-2 down the wing there. When you're 1-0 down, the key thing is to keep your calm and your patience. The worst thing you can do is you lose your frustration, because when it's 2-0, it's completely game over. Here's a situation where you try doing, again, this is what I think Mbappe cost him. You might see me do this exact same thing. He did an L1 trigger and a first time fake shot. So as you can see here, look at the control on the bottom left here. So as you can see, by the way, that's my social medias, by the way, down below. He did an L1 trigger to force Mbappe to make a run going forward. Then he did a pass to Mbappe. Problem is, Mbappe's only got a right foot. So his opponent, as you can see, look, he naturally moved closer to Mbappe. Mbappe can't shoot on his left foot, so he passed the ball away. And that's why I think if that was a better player like R9 or someone like CR7, he would have done a better job, in my opinion. That's why I think the team really let him down. Because when I see him play, normally with two strikers in a 4-4-2, Anders is very good because he can use both the two strikers very well. Especially they both got 5-star and 5-star, 5-5 like Neymar. You can use them very well. But what I think is because he was stuck with one guy that, because it was goal, if it was record breaker Mbappe, okay, fine. But goal Mbappe and striker was kind of the weak point. And this is where I think he makes a big mistake. Now, he paused. You can't see this now. He actually pauses the game. Let me tell you something. Never pause the game when the ball is in play. Just wait for the ball to go out of play, or when it's a goal kick, free kick, or whatever, and then pause the game. If you pause the game now, there's a lot of psychological warfare comes in. Now, me personally, when my opponent pauses the game, like Anders did right now, I know that he wants to basically make a change, and I deliberately hold the ball, and that's what I think this guy did, this blue guy. I don't know who he is, but I'm pretty sure he was smart enough to do this, and that's what I think he was doing. The problem is when you cue a pause, your opponent knows that you're getting frustrated or you want to make a change, so they hold the ball a lot more. A, to stop the ball from going out of play so you can't make the change, and B, so you make a mistake. He still defends very well. Against defends the angle towards goal with Vieira over there. And then he makes a big mistake that he doesn't normally do. And again, with Boateng, now he ran out with his centre back again. He doesn't normally do this. I mean, normally he lets go and he switches over to Rooney. But maybe he was frustrated here, and you can see, look, he ran out with Boateng. The exact same thing happened again. And I'll be honest, like this pass, it should not even gone through. But you can see again, he's got one centre back only, and that way when the pass was made in this situation, he was in a bit of a situation. Does he go towards the player, or does he go and man mark the area, or does he block the angle towards goal? You kind of got no choice there. You have to go close. He does opponent does a nice through ball roll away and goes for the near post angle, which was a good goal. But again, he doesn't normally run out with his centre back. If he does, he normally switches to Rooney and normally covers that angle very well. But he overcommitted so much on this side. This is why I think that he was just getting agitated. That's why I say, whenever you want to make a pause, right? Whether you make a pause when the game is when the ball is running around in play, or when the ball goes out of play, the pause happens at the end of the day when the ball goes out, or when it's a set piece or whatever. So just don't cue the pause, because once your opponent visibly sees at the top that you want to make a pause, then at that point it's a big trouble. I deliberately hold the ball, and most of the time I always get a ball because I find that my opponent will always make a mistake, and you can see Anders did so very well. Now at this point, I'll be honest, it was a very unlucky situation. He tried to kick the ball out with Vieira. The opponent did a very nice ball roll. It was a good goal in my opinion. I think the pass from Pele, whoever that was a bit BS. Anders now has come back in the game. In my opinion, 2-0 down at this point. It's basically game over, I really think. You have to get a goal normally, so you have to be a bit more aggressive. You can't be more conservative now. You have to be aggressive. But when you're basically defending in the box, you still, like in this situation, your number one idea should be to defend the angle towards goal still. When you're outside the box, you can press, but when you're inside the box, you have to defend the situation first. Because if you make a mistake here and it's 3-0, then it's completely game over. At least if you get a goal like in 75 minutes, you have a chance to come back. So as you can see, he defends very well. He applies a bit of pressure, still defends, gets the ball, but he's a bit aggressive. And as you can see, I don't think he normally uses Boateng. Again, uses to run and jockey, gets the ball back, and very unlikely it's dispossessed, gets the ball again. Again, L1 triggers, sends players going forward, no one to pass to, sends George Best going forward, as you can see the L1 trigger. Really nice play, Bruno Fernandes, gets the ball with Mbappe, and then he misses. This is another reason why I said if that was CR7, I scored that goal a lot of the times, that would have been a goal with CR7. Maybe 50-50, but with Mbappe, it will never go in. His shot power is not high enough, and neither with his right foot. It's even maybe record break Mbappe, maybe, but definitely not the goal with Mbappe. Opponent gets the ball over here. In my opinion, should have done a ball roll away, because that was Mendy, but he makes a through ball. Reads it very well. Then uses Vieira, goes forward. Now he's gone to a more attacking formation. You can see he's pressing the L1 button on the bottom left, triggering players forward, playing a 4-4-2, left back and right back joining the attack. Very nice play. L1 triggers, gets a bit lucky and scores a fantastic goal. And in the stream, he was visibly happy back in the game. In my opinion, I'll always say here, pause the game, compose yourself. But you can see the guy in blue credit where credit's due. He played such a smart, astute game. You know, he passed the ball around, and Anders does the exact same thing. Don't forget Anders anyway is a top tier guy, so don't say to him, oh look, he passed the ball around. He's a pro player. What do you expect? It's kind of like Premier League. You know, if you're winning 2-1 against the club, you're not going to be holding the ball. Ends up winning the ball as you getting the ball. It's a corner, moves the goalkeeper there a little bit, has to still get the ball. Now all the guy in blue has to do is kind of hold the ball out, still be a bit aggressive, kind of hold the ball outside the box. Opponent does it very, very well. Gets a bit unlucky there with the tackle, and then in my opinion here, nonsense goal. This should not be going in. But this is the key of having good players. Here, I'm not gonna lie, he played so well to do this, the guy in blue. Anders over here got BS'd. Look at this. I think he defended this perfectly. The ball should not go like that. In my opinion, the ball that should not happen, that rebound. It was so unfortunate. But then once he was in this situation over here, Pele, okay, bit of unlucky defending over there. Misread it, but look, come on, you can't shoot with your left foot facing away from goal like that. This is what I like to call a pop shot. Just kind of just shoot for nothing. A lot of lower tier guys do this, but he just took it because he thought, you know what, he was winning and he did it. And I'll be honest, I'm surprised he scored. In my opinion, even that's Pele, on Pele's weak foot, that should not go in. And at that point, 3-1, it's game over. And this is the thing I wanted to say is, in my opinion, look, the game screwed him over. That's true, but the game always screws everyone over. It screws myself over, and it screws everyone. But the key thing is he did it for 535 games. So that's the biggest achievement for me. The fact that, think about how much BS you get in a weekend league, right? And think about he has fought all this BS and has still won 535 games, which is an amazing achievement. That's why I say full props to this kid. If anything, this loss maybe short term will be a bad thing for him, but long term it will just make him stronger, make him come back, you know, be a bit more stronger in these situations. But in all honesty, I don't think he should have lost this game. I think this team let him down, don't get me wrong, but I think ultimately it's not the way he plays normally. I don't know if he was in delay or whatever was happening. Some people think he's got some different connection. Of course not. He's got a connection. He got his delay just like everyone else. But anyway, that was it. It was game over. But I, of course, wanted to show you this clip. These are just some certain things you can learn. Hopefully, you kind of got a bit of an understanding of how these guys play. The most important thing is focus on defending the angle towards goal, L1 triggers, and holding the ball and playing safe. You can pick up a lot of things, and you can see, for example, if you just do the simple things. This is why I always advocate on the Patreon. If you watch this video and you're part of my Patreon, you would have seen that everything I taught you in the Patreon is everything that both of these players did. It's all about doing the simple things well. But you can see if you make one mistake, even if you're as good as someone like Anders, it could mean the difference between a win or a loss. But anyway, massive respect to this kid. I like him. He's a really classy kid. Doesn't react to the hate. Deserves a lot more credit than he's due. A fantastic player, and I'm pretty sure he's going to go far. But anyway, that's just my thoughts on the video. Thank you very much for watching, and do make sure you go follow him, Anders. He's actually a top tier player, and by watching him, maybe you can learn something as well. Thanks for watching, boys. Take it easy, and I'll catch you next time. Peace out.